Welcome to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 140.2, College Football Playoff Talk with Eric and Ryan Robinson. Eric and Ryan break down the quarterfinal round of the college football playoffs and preview the semifinals before Eric heads to Miami for the Orange Bowl.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome back to our college football playoffs quarterfinal recap and our semifinal preview. We are down to the final four in college football, and I love it. First time ever I've been enthused about a college football postseason that Purdue wasn't involved in. All right, which isn't very many, by the way. Welcome back, Eric and Ryan. Let's start with Notre Dame. Thoughts, Eric, on Notre Dame's win?
Well, huge win, obviously, for the program. And just the way they did it to go out and just beat up the SEC champion, Georgia. As we were saying at work last night, we had to take the dogs for a walk. We took the dogs for a little walk. Is someone making fun of me?
Yeah, and I just snorted.
No, that's Sam. She's up there. She goes, whoop, whoop.
Oh.
Yeah. No, but I mentioned the last time we talked that the win over Georgia was going to be the win to really start changing the narrative and the stigma that Notre Dame can't win the big game. I mean, it's been true. 30 years since we won a New Year's Day or a BCS or a playoff game. And you already hear it all week. Everyone talking about Notre Dame's elite. They are elite. You know, one win can change everything. I called the win. I wasn't surprised. I was surprised at how dominant we were defensively. That was a little bit of a surprise.
Penn State could change everything too, though.
No, Penn State, playing exactly like Notre Dame. And probably a little bit better offensively. We got to step it up this week or, we're in trouble.
Ryan?
Well, I can echo Eric's sentiments as far as how big that game was, but, Notre Dame just seems dialed in right now, and defensively it's just – I was also surprised. Georgia, I know they had a backup quarterback, but this kid – he came in with a high pedigree and is well capable of playing maybe better than what he did. But, some of the reason he didn't play well is because Notre Dame had him running for his life nonstop. We had, I think, 9 tackles for a loss. Georgia only had 1 tackle for a loss, and they're supposed to be this incredible defense. But, Notre Dame totally flipped the script that game, and I don't know, offensively they weren't real effective, but you don't have to be when your special teams makes plays and when your defense is keeping the other team out of the end zone, especially in the red zone. So I think Georgia had 3 fourth down conversions maybe that they did not get. They're in the fourth quarter, so it was just impressive. I couldn't be happier. I got a little bulldog now. You guys probably know Rudy. So I'm up at the crack of dawn, and every morning I'm just putting on YouTube, and I'm watching press conference, and I'm watching all the guys talk about the upcoming game with Penn State. I'm just soaking all of this up while we can, because it's been so long since we've been able to do that. And I like this matchup against Penn State. I was more reserved against the Georgia game than I am against Penn State. I think I like my chances, or our chances, against Penn State more than I did Georgia.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. Drew Aller's playing really well, and that Penn State defense is as good as Georgia defense, maybe better. But back to the Notre Dame offense. Offensively, that was the worst playoff performance since the playoff began, and I think that was when. I think we can look it up. I want to say 2014 is when they went to 4 teams. I know it was Jameis Winston freshman year at Florida State. It was the first year, I think, they went to 4 teams. So You figure 3 games a year since 2014. The worst offensive output by a winning team in college playoff history. 234 yards Notre Dame had total offense. So that's not going to cut it this week, but it with the way they played on special teams and defense last week, it worked, but it's not going to work moving forward.
Well, I mean, I think that's a credit to how Notre Dame played. You know, I know as a fan and as a Notre Dame supporter, I was nervous throughout that game, but looking back at the highlights and stuff, they were in command most of that game. And yeah, offensively, they didn't light it up and put up big numbers, but they really didn't need to in that game. And I cannot say enough about Xavier Watts and what he means to that team. He is the glue to that defense, and he just makes play after play after play. And I know he's going to do it again Thursday night.
The only thing that had me concerned about from a Notre Dame perspective was they were so dominant in the first half and only had a field goal until late in the half, and that was a big play late in the half that changed everything. But really all it did was felt like Notre Dame had the momentum almost the entire first half, and that just kind of cemented it.
Yeah, I think when you look at how we contained ETN, a couple of those quick pitches to the outside, you're used to seeing those running backs get the corner and the edge on the Notre Dame defense, and to see our secondary fly up and make play after play after play it was like, okay, we are different now. This is a different team and different talent that we're used to seeing on our team. But the secondary, I'm already looking ahead to next year, getting excited because outside of Xavier Watts, we have everyone coming back on that defense, and we lose Kaiser at linebacker, but we're going to have our secondary and all the other linebackers back, and they're going to be scary good next year, and I'm already excited about it. But I'm trying not to get ahead of myself too much. But we did talk. One of the things we mentioned was you asked me, well, what's the key for Notre Dame? What's going to have to happen? And I said Riley Leonard's going to have to step up his game. And to see him only throw for 90 yards after I said I think Notre Dame's going to throw more than they have all year, to see them only throw for 90 yards and he rushed for 80, man, it was ugly. And he even said it was ugly. But, man, with that defense, holy smokes.
And Leonard, he seemed to kind of like control the whole tempo of that second half.
Yeah, he did.
So credit to him. But, you know, I watched the game. This is just a funny story. I watched the game at the Elks Lodge here in Muncie, and when I got there, everyone's asking about Rudy because I'd taken Rudy in there a few times. And they're like, hey, how's Rudy doing? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't talked to him. And they're like, what do you mean you haven't talked to him? I said, I ain't talking to any Bulldog today. This is all about Notre Dame. I'll talk to him tomorrow.
Nice. So for a week, Rudy is not part of the family.
Everyone got a big kick out of that, but yeah, I just thought that was funny.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about the matchup with Penn State, with Notre Dame. Are you guys confident? It sounds like one of you is more confident than the other.
Well, I think Ryan sounds more confident, and the reason that would be is because I've covered Penn State so much this year, a lot closer than what he has. You look at what they did against Oregon on offense. I mean, they put up 35 points. I think it was 35. They're playing at a different level. I mean, it's not the Penn State we're used to. You know, I said all along, if they get their offense going, they're going to be a hard team to beat. And they've had their offense going.
You did say before the season that they were a national championship contender if their offense could.
Yep, and their offense is putting up numbers. And it's all going to come down to the line of scrimmage, very similar to the Georgia game. If we can be more physical and control the line of scrimmage on offense and defense, that's where the game's going to be won. I mean, it's no secret. Both teams want to run the football. But I think if we can continue to put another game plan and performance together, similar to what we did against Georgia, I think we're going to be okay. Our offense will score enough points to win.
I think the really main concern that I have is who are we going to have cover Tyler Warren there at tight end? I mean, Xavier
He's
Watson,
a good one, man.
He's really good, and he's going to be a problem. And our secondary, I mean, is Xavier Watts going to key on Tyler Warren throughout that game? I'm not sure. how we're going to contain him. So that's probably the main concern I have. I think the game's going to come down to the line of scrimmage and who's going to be able to establish the run. And I don't know that Notre Dame's going to have 2 games in a row where they're not going to be able to rush the ball. So I'm hopeful they're going to be able to establish the run against Penn State. And I know Jeremiah Love had a knee brace on for most of practice yesterday, but he says he's playing. I hope that he's able to play. And then you still got the legs of Riley Leonard too. So,
And Jadarian Price, I mean, he would be starting on about any team in the country. So we're going to be okay at running back, even if Love's not 100%. Obviously, we're better if he is 100% and a go. But I think we're going to be okay with Price and also the Eason, the freshman running back that gets in and puts up some yardage and just it makes plays and fills in. So I'm okay. I think we're good either way. But yeah, I mean, we want Jeremiah Love back there at 100%.
Hey Ryan, I'm watching the Orange Bowl from Stage 22. Where are you watching from?
I'll probably be at the Elks. I got plans to meet a couple people. I have an invitation from one of the Elk members who played football at Penn State. I just talked to him tonight.
Wow.
He wants me to come to his house, so he
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
He's a Pennsylvania guy, and then after he got his degree, ended up in Central Indiana, and now he lives in Yorktown. And he's a really good guy, and he's got some great stories. And
well, if you're not talking to Rudy, you can't be talking to that guy.
Well, not on game day, but I can on Monday.
Okay. All right, Eric, where are you going to be watching the game from?
I will be in section 103.
Whoa.
At the Hard Rock Stadium watching Notre Dame live and up close. Me and my 2 nephews are going to the game. We fly out Wednesday morning, come back Sunday, and we cannot wait. We are pumped up.
Earlier tonight, I spoke with Will Rutherford, who was at the Rose Bowl, and now I'm here with Eric, who's going to be at the Orange Bowl. It's only first class for our contributors.
I need the VIP pass.
Next year.
You need to hook me up.
I'll be all over that next year.
Well, we need to have Eric do a live podcast from like the tailgate zone pregame, just to
Absolutely.
like report on the vibe, because
we'll just put a microphone on you the whole game, and we'll just podcast the whole thing.
Well, you'd have to edit that.
What's that, Ryan?
But I said you'd have to edit that heavily probably, because there's might be some words not allowed, but I hope those guys have fun out there, and I want them to soak in every single activity they can take in, because, I mean, this is just a great time for Notre Dame football, and I'd like to think Marcus Freeman's going to have us doing this year in and year out, but as we know, with each season, teams flip-flop and this and that, you got to seize the moment in my eyes, so I want this year to soak in every bit of success that we've been able to do so far. And
by the way, the Notre Dame game is not the only game this weekend. First, let's talk about how Penn State's win over Boise State. It's fair. I wouldn't call it impressive, but it was fairly comfortable.
Well, I mean, it was comfortable, and Penn State did a great job at shutting down Genty. I think he still ended up over 100 yards at like 106 maybe. But he wasn't effective throughout that game, and Penn State was able to keep a comfortable lead throughout most of that game, and it really never got close, unlike the Texas-Arizona State game, which was, man, that was great TV. Yeah, Penn State handled Boise State fairly easily, and I know Eric loves Penn State's defense and gives them a lot of credit for that, but they had the easiest draw to this Final Four.
No doubt.
Oh, yeah, it's not even close.
Yeah.
So I'm not putting a lot of stock in them making the Final Four yet. That's why I think Notre Dame's the better team.
It's the reason I picked Penn State to win it all, is I looked at their path and thought, that seems the most likely to me. Especially the way their offense looked in the Big Ten Championship. I thought they were every bit as good as Oregon. Anyway, I like Penn State's chances against Notre Dame. I will not be surprised either way. By the way, 8 for 8 on my all-time college football picks.
You have Penn State beat Notre Dame Thursday?
I do. I have Penn State and Ohio State. And silence, man.
Yeah.
That'll silence some people right there. All right.
Well, I hesitated hanging up.
Before we talk about the game Ryan just mentioned, which was probably the most entertaining game and probably the most I have to say about was the Texas and Arizona State game, let's talk about how dominant Ohio State was. That was crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know what to make of Ohio State right now. I mean, I don't want to play them. We have our history of bad luck with them anyways, and I've never seen a team look any better or more dominant than what they look like right now. Not Jeremiah Smith. He is a handful.
Ridiculous.
18 years old.
Yeah. And they have 2 number 1 receivers.
Man.
Egbuka is.
I'm giving Texas 0 chance in that game. 0. And the line's only -6, and I don't understand the line. Because I've not been a big Texas fan. I'm not sold on them. I'm still not sold on them. I picked Arizona State to beat them. They should have. I don't even think this game will be close. I think Ohio State is another blowout win on the horizon.
Ryan, you're the SEC guy. You think the same thing?
Well, I'm throwing all my chips on the table that Ohio State can't play 2 games in a row that way, because what they did against Oregon was, they look like a team that is just going to run through the national championship. But,
well, they've already played 2 games in a row that way. They did the same thing to Tennessee. That game was over in 1 quarter. Same with the Oregon game. It was over.
Yeah, but don't undersell Texas in this game. I think they're still going to make it competitive. I really want them to win, because I don't think should Notre Dame beat Penn State, I don't think we can beat Ohio State. But I think we match up much better against Texas.
I want to point out one thing here, and Michelle Garman would completely disagree with me. But I think that Texas has a quarterback on a different level than every other quarterback in this left in the Final Four. I think he's really good. I think he's smart. He makes some mistakes, but I think he is the reason I give Texas a chance in this game.
Well, you have to trust Coach Sarkisian somewhat, don't you? With all his years of experience, and you got a guy on the bench and Arch Manning who wasn't able to become the starter. So there's obviously something with Quinn Ewers that's an element above Manning, and that's why he's the starter. And, they've had a great season. Arch Manning filled in great when Ewers was hurt, but, Ewers is still the guy. So I don't want to look at this like Eric's looking at it like Ohio State's just going to run the table, because we see this in tournaments all the time. When it gets down to this stage, man, it just takes 1 or 2 big plays for momentum to switch. And Texas they're highly capable of competing in this game and making plays and keeping things interesting.
But we all agree Ohio State wins, right?
I think they'll win. I hope it's a close game.
Oh, yeah. Ohio State's going to win.
I think Ohio State too, but I think it's going to be within 6 points. That's my guess.
Okay.
I think it'll be a classic. Unless Texas does some things like they did in the Arizona State game, which, man, they tried to give that game away and probably should have. I don't like to talk about officiating because I think it's usually a bad excuse, but
it was bad.
Arizona State has 2 plays that just one play, the targeting one, and then the pass interference on the offensive player. He pushed the guy 4 times and they didn't call pass interference.
I know.
But again, I don't like to talk a lot about officiating, but Texas is lucky to be here.
Oh, they're very lucky.
The targeting play, they slowed it down so many times on the replay, and it was textbook targeting.
I know. I don't know. I don't get it.
It's the film you would show an official to say, this is targeting.
Yes, this is targeting. Watch this, and here's when you call it, when this happens right here. And I cannot believe that was not called targeting.
And how can Texas not find a kicker is one of the best programs in the country that can make a 31-yard field goal?
Well, ironically, he's the best kicker in that school's history. He's made more. Yeah,
that was an ugly kick. That looked like a junior high kid stepped up and tried to make that kick.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, we have a kicker and Jeter on Notre Dame who's like 15 for 22 and can't find one. He goes out 3 for 3. When it matters. So that's a big relief because me and Ryan have been on the Jeter kick for a month or two. He's just been so bad.
You remember Jim Sansom?
No.
Notre Dame kicker that lost him like 4 games in the late 90s. Ooh. Whenever at the newspaper that I worked at, whenever we said something was no good, we said it was Jim Sansom. That's how bad of a kicker he was. So Jeter is fine compared to that. So.
Well, I got made fun of because each time he came out on the field, I said, this has 0 chance of going in. And then it went in and everyone was like, would you shut up? I'm like, no. I said, I've watched them all year. You're watching one game. Leave me alone.
All right, Eric, what's your lock? It's
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Big over Texas.
All right, Ryan?
I think Ohio State wins, but I don't think it's going to be big. I don't think they can duplicate that game again like they had against Oregon. I mean, these are great games, man, by 4 great programs. So I want them to be competitive. Obviously, I want Notre Dame to win, but I think Texas keeps that game close and maybe a slight chance they pull off an upset.
And my lock is Penn State to win.
Well, let's talk about
nothing. Nothing, guys.
So, what do we think about the 4 teams with the bye, all losing, all coming out super flat,
like I predicted?
And you've got the Final 4, and you have seed 5 through 8 playing for the title. It just goes to show you that the formula is not right.
I have no problem with it.
It's broken. It's a little bit broken.
You're still going to get the best team in the end. That's what you're going for, right?
No, yeah, it's still going to work out where you're going to get a champion.
And I'm not sure they're not the best 4 teams. I think Oregon probably belongs in there, and they got a little bit screwed. But I'm not sure you didn't get the best 4 teams.
Well, I think the intent was good, but you definitely have to tweak it next year.
I like it.
Well, I mean, the conference champions, I think you can give them an automatic bid, but you can't give them an automatic buy. Because
I like it the way it is. I love it.
I don't know how you can love that.
It gives everybody an equal chance. Just because you think the ACC is the 3rd or 4th or not worthy of a top 4 seed doesn't mean that in the end that they're not. We've seen that over and over and over again in college football where a team we didn't think was that good actually had 2 losses because the conference was better than we thought.
Yeah, but you can't tell me Ohio State being the 2nd place in the Big Ten as the 8th seed.
Yeah, they had 2 losses.
You think they're better than Boise State and SMU?
Yeah, but I don't think they earned a higher seed than Boise State and SMU.
According to the guidelines of the playoff. But I think those will change next year.
I can see it. I think if you want fair, that's probably what you're going for, but I like the idea of...
If I'm a head coach and I have a say in it, I don't want to buy. I would be out there saying...
I don't think that's what happened.
I wouldn't want to buy. I've never liked it in the NFL. With you look at how the Colts would always handle it. I hate it.
It can definitely be a detriment. But,
but
their buys used to be
is.
the middle of freaking November till January. That's not a very good excuse. It used to be college football. They ended at the end of Thanksgiving weekend and didn't play again till January 1st. So the rust thing holds no sway with me. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in that either, but I am a believer in seeding it to where the best teams get the best seedings, and that clearly didn't happen under this format. So I'm open to that. I'm open to that changing next year. But here's one thing I wanted to talk about. Let's get your guys' opinion on this. Is making the Final Four in this college football playoff the same as making the Final Four in the NCAA basketball tournament?
Should be. It should be. You're one of the best 4 teams in the entire country.
I don't think.
Right, but the NCAA starts with 64, where this starts with 12.
Still, but you eliminated all the other programs through the season. I agree. Let's make it a 64-team tournament. I think that'd be fun. But no, I'm kidding. I'd like to see it be 24. But,
yeah, if we make it 64 teams, we can play all the way into April.
That's right. No, just have 3 weeks of the regular season, and then have the rest of it be all playoffs.
But what's your protocol on this accomplishment? I mean,
I think it's huge.
Is this something where teams are going to put a banner up that Final Four 2025?
They should, yes. Eric?
National runner-up 2025. We saw it with NBA with their in-season tournament, and the Lakers won it, and they're talking about a banner. Is it justified? You guys tell me. What's your thoughts on that?
Depends on real fast. I want to get Eric's opinion, but I think it kind of depends on your program. If you're Penn State, you hang that banner. If you're Notre Dame, maybe that's not good enough.
No, you never hang that banner if you're Notre Dame. You hang national championships. You don't hang Final Fours or runner-ups. But I'm just saying, is it warranted by programs to do that?
I would. Eric?
I don't think so. I would not. You look at what who was it? Central Florida or whatever they did. They claimed they were national champs because they went undefeated. I mean, I don't know why you would do that. You weren't national champion, but
he held a parade.
Yeah. Well, this is going to be the first ever national champion in my mind.
Yeah, but Scott Frost held a parade,
and he should.
National championship, and he didn't even make the BCS, or not the BCS, but the.
It was still a football
I think it was
playoff.
BCS, wasn't it?
It was probably the football playoff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was the top 4 teams. He wasn't even in that, and I think they were ranked like 12th, and he's claimed a national championship.
Yeah, I think, again, if you're Purdue and you make it to this point, of course you hang a banner. If you're IU, of course you would hang a banner for this or whatever. Have a celebration. But if you're Notre Dame, like Ryan said, you have no interest in a Final Four.
I think what you're going to see hanging at right now is a banner that says first playoff victory in the 12-team playoff history. And then right beside it is going to be Sugar Bowl champion. Right beside that's going to be Orange Bowl champion. And then you can have a national title if you would go on to win the next 2 games. So you're going to get a banner hung or something to hang, just based on the way that the setup is. So
pretty cool to be able to win those 2 bowl games in 1 year.
I thought about it at work. I'm like, man, how cool would it be to say, hey, we won the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl in the same year?
Very cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
All right, guys, a little side note here. I have a question. We're going to start looking at the NFL draft. We're going to start looking at things like that. Who in this tournament or what? You talked about Watson, how important he was. What else jumped out at you during these, 8 games so far?
Correct, yeah. Well, you look at what Cam Scattaboo's doing, or what he did for Arizona State. Not only did he talk it, but he backed it up. He said, I don't know if you saw the quote prior to the game. He said, I'm going to get it close, but he said, none of you guys are giving me the respect I deserve as being the best running back in the country. So that's pretty big words.
And he might be.
Yeah, I think he is. He had 284 total yards in that game against Texas.
And threw for a touchdown.
Yeah, he threw a 42-yard
right.
touchdown pass. He caught 99 yards and ran for 143. If you look at him on the sideline, this guy's probably just been going around bruising people and beating people up his whole life. He looks like a UFC fighter.
He does.
I mean, this guy is legit, hard-nosed. That jumped out at me. And then just overall, Ohio State, their dominance. I mean, those are the 2 things that really wowed me.
Well, Scattaboo impressed me big time, and when I saw that quote, me and Carson started laughing. I'm like, this guy's never heard of Ashton Genty.
He thinks he's better, and he might be.
Yeah, well, I watched the game and I'm like, holy cow, this kid's unbelievable. He reminds me of Christian McCaffrey, but he's a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And there were several times where he got down the goal line and he was pushing through 300-pound tackles to get in the end zone. So that really surprised me. And Jeremiah Smith, I did not know his size until they put that up during that game. I think they had his height and weight up against Calvin Johnson.
I was going to say he looks like Megatron.
Yeah,
It was
he's all
Calvin Johnson, and I can't think of the other player. The guy I was watching the game with, we had no idea he's 6'3" and 220 pounds.
and the way he adjusts on the ball, he never drops a pass.
He'd be the first pick in the draft if he was 20 years old. Don't you think?
Yeah, it might be. The guys.
How much money is he going to make over the next 2 years? Because you can't go pro until you've been out of high school for 3 years. So He's got 2 more years of college football. What's his paycheck going to be? It's going to be astronomical.
The besides him and Scattaboo, we mentioned the one who jumped out to me was Tyler Warren. I would love to have that guy on my team in the NFL.
Well, Tyler Warren's going to be doing a lot like the Georgia tight end that just set the rookie record for receptions for the Oakland Raiders. Is it Trevor Bowers?
Yeah.
112 receptions. I mean, that Tyler Warren kid, he's going to be an instant success in the NFL, in my opinion. And it all goes back to, man, that's my wild card Thursday night. What are we going to do to contain that kid? I hope Coach Freeman has a plan.
Thank you so much to Eric and Ryan for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report once again. They are fantastic at being our college football analysts, and they get better and better every week. It's been a fun college football season for me, getting to talk college football with them every week. And thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please like, subscribe, or follow us at SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and now at YouTube, so you don't miss a single segment. Do it now. Eric and Ryan demand it of you. And it would be very helpful if you would tell your friends about the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thank you so much. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.